How we doing? Oh my goodness. Yeah, I am just waiting for the world to catch up sometimes. I know it sounds arrogant and like I think I'm all that in a bag of chips, as we used to say. What do you think you are? You're not so fucking special. Today I want to talk about programming and how obvious it is once you see it. You can't unsee it. Once you know, you know. So I was just writing comments. I'll put one below about this cycle that seems to be a thread and a pattern and a theme of these Hollywood toxic couples, right? So we've had Kim and Kanye first, then it jumped to Will and Jada, and now it's jumped to Johnny and Amber. Like, it's all a blur, you know, it's all a clusterfuck of yuck. A clusterfuck of yuck. What does it really, tell us? You don't want to be part of a Hollywood power couple because it's a disaster to live your life in the public eye. A fucking disaster, a mess, a train wreck. There's that. But I also am seeing other themes and patterns emerge that stink of the Illuminati to me. And I've done some deep dive research on them in the last 3 or 4 years and found out their tactics, their operating system, and their playbook. So to me, I'm not even really duped by much anymore, or the carrot and stick thing doesn't work for me. All these humiliation rituals they make them go through. What I'm seeing and perceiving and feeling is there's a changing of the guard in the key players, and that's what we're watching play out on the world stage. So the slap humiliation ritual, the severing of the finger humiliation ritual, they're painting the women as these Medusa, sort of Yoko Ono villain characters, and they're painting the men as these weak simp, characters. So that's what it is. And if you see through it, then you go, what's the point of that? That's Baphomet worship. It's reversals. It's to, break down the family unit, the nuclear family, nuclear. They're just blowing everything up. All these old paradigms are dying, and, they've always been scandalous Hollywood couples. That's not new, But this is even slimier and grosser. And, when you had your Eddie Fisher, Elizabeth Taylor, Debbie Reynolds love triangle way, way back, that was probably to distract from something else. And this is to distract from something else. And the war is to distract from something else. So maybe start digging on what the something else is. It's what they do in the dark and behind the scenes with the rituals of sex magic and blood trade. So once you start diving into that, and I'm not talking QAnon, I'm not talking conspiracies, I'm talking, just almost obvious truths at this point to a lot of us, and if you're new to that information, I highly suggest you start doing some research of your own and deductions and putting together puzzle pieces and seeing patterns and kind of coming up on the bird's eye view and realizing, the best thing to strive for is peace in a relationship. And if someone comes at me, and I will say this, and they're like, my ex is a psycho, my ex is a narcissist, my ex is a cheater, I go, thanks, thank you, next. Because if a man talks about his ex in unfavorable terms, he is not owning his part in the dynamic, number one. Number two, he's seeking sympathy. Number three, everybody has a toxic ex. Everybody has a psycho ex. And you're somebody's toxic and psycho ex. So I just don't buy that anymore. I'm always in the two to tango, see all sides of it, it's amazing how it's just so blatant and so obvious that they're selling us this stuff. And so when I hear men say, my wife doesn't understand me, they're looking for an affair. And when I hear men say my wife was a cheating narcissist, there could be some of that, I'm sure, that was going on, and maybe you neglected her, or maybe you rushed into it, or maybe you had expectations of her and she had expectations of you that were not met on either side. I love to hear a man say, we just didn't work out but we're co-parenting, we're doing our best, we're both in therapy, we're both growing and evolving. You know how often you hear that? Never. Never. Because the man always wants to put it on the woman, in my opinion, and not own his own shit and what he brought to the table in the party and how he fucked up and failed. So that's a huge red flag for me, and I will keep you in the friend zone and the brother zone forever if I hear you dissing an ex. Forever. I will never go deeper, I will never open my heart, and I will never trust you. Because I know that if you do that to her, you'll do it to me. And you're not owning your shit, you're not manning up, you're not growing up, you're not stepping up, and you're not showing up to your part in every dynamic. Are there bad women out there who take advantage of men and hurt men who are, you know, in some ways innocent? Yep. Are there bad men who still hurt women? Obviously, yes, rampant. But if you've made people together and then things don't work out on the long term, and you're bad-mouthing her, I think you're immature. I think you are unchivalrous. And I think that's the mother of your children, you know? Shut your mouth or say nice things or shut your mouth. That's what I think. Now, that said, I know relationships are complicated. It's not that black and white, and every case is different. But I don't like whiny men. I don't like men who don't man up and take responsibility for their emotions, their situation, their circumstances, their growth, their failures. I don't like that. It doesn't appeal to me. And I'm not going to feel sorry for any of you because you chose these women. It was your karmic lesson. It was your growth. It was your, you know, you contributed to the dynamic 50-50, two to tango. So I'm not going to sit here and go, oh, poor Johnny Depp, Amber was such a bitch, or oh, poor Will, Jada's such a bitch, or oh, Kanye's just trying to take care of his kids and Kim's such a bitch. Like, yeah, they're bitches. These guys are bastards, and that's what it is. And so some people bring out your bitch, some people bring out your bastard, and some people bring out your light. And that's what we're learning from this. And that's what I'm seeing from this. And that's what I'm reminding myself. None of that's real. It's all societal programming and you know, we're supposed to tiptoe around the male ego and not call out what we see when we see it. You know, if I've ever been on a first date and a guy has dissed his ex, there is no second date. That's where it ends for me. That's where it dies for me. If I'm on a date and a guy says, well, you know, she's a good person, I love her so much, she's a great mom, we just weren't good as a couple, second date. So that's my little operating system in the heart chakra. And you guys can to each their own. But I find it discouraging to see in all these cases, especially the women being the villain and the men being the victim, because they're just selling you something now. And I know for a long time it's been the opposite, where the women have been, you know, portrayed as the victim and the men have been portrayed as the villain. So they're just reversing it. They're flipping it and reverse it. And the truth is always somewhere in between. But please, I don't want to hear any more men dissing the mother of their children or doing revenge porn or trying to garner sympathy from a new woman. You know, like, oh, maybe you can heal me from what she broke me. No, I don't want to sign up for that. That is not my job. That is your job. Go to a therapist. Get counseling. Figure it out. Look at where your part in it was or is. And, yeah, I don't respect that. I've seen it too many times. I've heard it too many times. I know it's a flirting tactic. I don't like it. And it makes me dismiss you outright as a potential partner. You know, I'll be your sister. I'll be your friend. I'll call you on your shit. And I'll say, well, what did you do? What did you do in that relationship? Where did you go wrong? You know? It's never one-sided, you guys. It's never one person's fault. You know, it's always a dynamic. And I've seen too many women come to me crying over the men calling them names in front of their children or manipulating the money or the narrative for the family and just being this two-faced bullshit thing. So I mostly hear from the women who've been hurt by men. I have heard also from some men who've been in these toxic narcissistic things with these women who, yeah, can be castrating bitches. That happens. And cheaters and liars, and that happens. It happens on both sides. It happens on all sides. It happens in the normie vanilla, we're not famous world, and we're in the public eye, and we have these extra pressures of being in the public eye. It's really hard to have a relationship in the public eye. Boo-hoo. Go sit on your billions and leave me alone with that shit. I'm out here trying to meet guys in my area and, just have coffee and chats on deep dives on spiritual things. But yeah, no, this is the little peek into the playbook of how single women see men as either a potential candidate or a thank you next, and I'm not trying to judge anybody. Everybody is different and everybody's story is different. I'm telling you the patterns I've seen and heard from the men who try to flirt or date me and my response to that. Now, a lot of women will not give you that. They'll go, oh, his ex was such a bitch. Oh, she's so toxic. She's so evil. Really? Someday that's going to be him saying that about you. If he's not owning his shit and working on himself, run. Okay. Peace, motherfuckers. Bye.